There comes a point in life when you realize that the greatest power you will ever hold is the knowledge of your own worth. It is not the sweet words whispered by someone who barely understands you, nor the fleeting attention of someone who cannot see your value. It is not the late night calls that come only when they are bored, or the compliments that are meant to keep you waiting. True worth is far deeper, far stronger, far more eternal than the fragile weight of someone's attention. The danger of relying on another person's validation is that you become trapped in an endless cycle of questioning yourself. You wonder why he didn't text back, why he looked away, why he didn't prioritize you, why he doesn't see the light in you that you feel so deeply. And every time you give energy to these questions, you slowly hand over your power. What you must remember is this: your value does not rise and fall with the waves of someone else's affection. It is not a currency that can be traded depending on his mood, his interest, or his convenience. It is a truth that lives within you, constant and unshakable, whether he acknowledges it or not. When you start living from that truth, you begin to shift the way you see yourself. You stop asking, "Why doesn't he want me?" and instead ask, "Why am I allowing myself to waste time on someone who cannot appreciate what I bring?" This shift changes everything. You no longer feel the urge to chase, to beg, to over-explain, to bend yourself into smaller shapes just to fit into his world. Instead, you stand tall in your own. You begin to invest in yourself with the kind of love and attention you once wasted on him. You discover hobbies, passions, goals that ignite your spirit. You put that same energy into building your dreams, nurturing your friendships, strengthening your body, and sharpening your mind. Suddenly, the endless wait for his attention feels insignificant compared to the beauty of becoming the best version of yourself. The truth is that attention is cheap. Anyone can give you a few moments of their time. Anyone can scroll through their phone and drop you a message. Anyone can pretend to care when it is convenient, but worth is priceless. Your worth is not about being noticed. It is about being irreplaceable. It is about the kind of presence that cannot be ignored, the kind of energy that commands respect, not because you begged for it, but because you embody it. When you learn to see yourself through the lens of your own power, you stop settling for crumbs of affection. You stop mistaking attention for love. You stop believing that the occasional reminder of your existence is enough to justify your loyalty. Instead, you demand consistency, respect, and authenticity, not through your words, but through the way you carry yourself. Think about the time and energy people spend trying to win over someone who gives them nothing in return. The sleepless nights, the anxious waiting, the endless analyzing of messages that may or may not come. All of that energy could be redirected into something greater. You could be learning a new skill, building a career, shaping your body into its strongest form, creating art, exploring the world, or simply finding peace within your own presence. The irony is that the moment you stop obsessing over why someone isn't giving you attention, you free up space to give yourself the attention you truly deserve. That is where self-worth is built. The glow that comes from self-worth is unlike anything else. It is not the kind of glow that fades when someone stops looking at you. It is not dependent on whether he compliments you today or ignores you tomorrow. It is the glow of confidence, of self-love, of knowing that you are enough whether anyone acknowledges it or not. This glow cannot be dimmed because it does not come from external validation. It comes from within. And when you walk into a room with that kind of energy, you do not need to chase anyone's attention. It finds you naturally. People are drawn to those who know their worth. They are captivated by those who do not beg, do not compromise their dignity, do not crumble under rejection. When you live from a place of self-worth, rejection does not destroy you, it redirects you. His silence does not break you, it frees you. His absence does not weaken you, it strengthens your independence. You stop seeing his lack of interest as a wound and start seeing it as a filter, because the truth is, anyone who cannot recognize your worth does not deserve access to your energy. Why should you waste your power on someone blind to your brilliance? Self-worth also changes the way you love. When you know who you are and what you bring to the table, you no longer accept half-hearted efforts. You no longer find excitement in mixed signals. You no longer tolerate relationships that are built on uncertainty. Instead, you seek out connections that align with your energy, that bring you peace, that uplift you. You love not because you are desperate to be chosen, but because you have already chosen yourself. You do not fear being alone because you know solitude with self-respect is far better than company with disrespect. There is an incredible freedom that comes from this realization. Imagine no longer checking your phone obsessively, no longer wondering why he hasn't reached out, no longer questioning your worth based on his actions. Imagine waking up and pouring all of that energy into your own life, into your own growth. Imagine becoming so focused on your path, your goals, your happiness, that whether or not he pays attention becomes irrelevant. That is the freedom of self-worth. It is the kind of freedom that makes you unstoppable, because your happiness no longer depends on external factors. Of course, this shift does not happen overnight. It takes practice. It takes reminding yourself daily that you are worthy regardless of who notices. It takes unlearning the belief that being chosen defines your value. It takes breaking the habit of waiting, of hoping, of expecting someone else to fill the voids in your life. But every small step in this direction builds resilience. Every time you choose yourself instead of chasing him, you strengthen your self-worth. Every time you redirect your energy into your goals instead of his attention, you reclaim your power. And here is the beauty of it. The moment you truly embrace your worth, the dynamics change. Suddenly, the one who ignored you begins to notice. Suddenly, your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. Suddenly, he sees the glow, the confidence, the power that comes from within you, and he realizes what he lost. But by then, you will be so secure in yourself that his recognition no longer matters. You will have risen so high that his opinion cannot touch you. That is the ultimate victory, not in winning him back, but in realizing you never needed him to feel whole in the first place. You see, queens are not defined by who chooses them, they are defined by how they choose themselves. And every time you stop giving power to someone who does not value you, you crown yourself again. You remind yourself that you were never ordinary, never replaceable, never just an option. You are a priority, but only to those who are capable of seeing it. Those who don't, let them go. They were never meant to sit at your table. So when the doubts creep in, when the silence feels heavy, when the temptation to chase becomes strong, pause and remind yourself, self-worth is greater than his attention. His attention is a flicker, here today, gone tomorrow. Your worth is a flame that never dies. It is the foundation upon which you build your life, your dreams, your future. It is the reason you rise, the reason you shine, the reason you stand tall. No one can give it to you, and no one can take it away. It is yours, and the moment you embrace it fully, you will never again settle for less than you deserve. There is a point in life when you realize that the way people treat you is not just a reflection of who they are, but also of what you allow. Every relationship, every interaction, every connection you have is shaped by the boundaries you set. Boundaries are not about being cruel, distant, or unkind. They are about self-respect. They are the invisible lines that tell others how far they can go, what is acceptable, and what will never be tolerated. Without boundaries, people will take advantage of your kindness, your patience, and your love. With boundaries, you communicate your worth without even saying a word. The mistake so many make is believing that setting boundaries will push people away, that it will make them lose love, affection, or connection. But the truth is the opposite. Boundaries do not destroy relationships, they strengthen them. They weed out the weak, the selfish, the inconsistent, and they make room for those who truly respect and value you. When you allow yourself to be treated with indifference, neglect, or disrespect, you send the message that you are willing to accept less than you deserve. The more you bend your standards to keep someone close, the more you lose yourself in the process. At first, it may feel like compromise, but over time, it erodes your self-esteem, and one day you wake up realizing that you have built a cage for yourself out of your own silence. The most powerful act of self-love is drawing a line and saying, "This is where I end, and this is where you must respect me." This is why ignoring someone who disrespects your boundaries is not revenge, it is clarity. It is not about punishing them, it is about protecting you. People who truly care about you will never cross the lines you set, because they will understand that those lines are not barriers, but expressions of dignity. Those who resist your boundaries are often the ones who benefited from you having none. They enjoyed the version of you that tolerated neglect, that accepted excuses, that kept giving chances. When you decide to rise and enforce your standards, they will protest, they will call you cold, they will say you've changed. But the truth is you haven't changed. You've simply stopped allowing yourself to be disrespected. Boundaries are not about pushing people out, they are about letting the right ones in. Without them, you open the doors of your life to chaos, to inconsistency, to emotional roller coasters that drain your spirit. With them, you create a space of peace, of stability, of respect. Imagine your life as a home. If you never lock your doors, anyone can walk in, some with good intentions, some with bad. But the moment you choose to protect your space, you decide who enters and who does not. You become the guardian of your own energy, and that is what boundaries truly are, the locks that protect the priceless treasure of your heart, your mind, and your spirit. It takes courage to set boundaries. It takes courage to say no. It takes courage to walk away from someone who refuses to respect your lines. But courage is the foundation of freedom. Without it, you become a prisoner to other people's whims. You wait for their approval, their affection, their acknowledgement, and in the process you shrink. But when you find the strength to stand firm, you expand. You become unshakable because you know what you stand for. You no longer fear rejection, because you understand that being rejected for having standards is far better than being accepted while betraying yourself. Many fear that if they enforce boundaries, they will lose love. But what kind of love is it if it only thrives when you silence your needs? What kind of affection is it if it only survives when you allow yourself to be treated poorly? That is not love. That is dependency. That is manipulation. That is fear disguised as connection. Real love, authentic love, healthy love flourishes within boundaries. It is strengthened by them because boundaries create safety, trust, and respect. And without those, there is no real relationship, only a shadow of one. It is also important to understand that boundaries are not about others, they are about you. You do not set them to control people, you set them to control yourself. You set them so that you do not betray your own values, so that you do not lower your standards, so that you do not lose yourself in the process of holding on to someone else. When you decide that you will no longer respond to late night calls, when you decide that you will no longer accept inconsistency, when you decide that you will no longer tolerate disrespect, you are not trying to change him, you are changing yourself. You are refusing to compromise your dignity for temporary attention. You are reminding yourself every single day, I am worth more than this, and every time you hold that line, you grow stronger. The first time you ignore a call you would have answered before, it feels uncomfortable. The first time you say no when you would have said yes, it feels terrifying. The first time you walk away instead of staying to argue, it feels strange. But each time you do it, you reclaim another piece of yourself. You begin to feel lighter, freer, more powerful. You no longer live in fear of what will happen if you disappoint someone, because you are no longer willing to disappoint yourself. That is the essence of boundaries. They teach you that your loyalty must never come at the cost of your self-respect. Those who truly belong in your life will honor your boundaries. They will not try to manipulate you into breaking them. They will not trip you into giving more than you can. They will not punish you for respecting yourself. Instead, they will admire you for it. They will recognize that someone who values herself will also value others. And that kind of strength creates relationships that are built not on dependency, but on equality. You are no longer the one giving endlessly while receiving crumbs in return. You are no longer the one waiting for someone to realize your value. You are no longer the one tolerating behavior that drains your spirit. You have become the one who commands respect simply by the way you live. The power of boundaries is that they are silent. You don't need to scream, argue, or beg for someone to understand. Your actions speak louder. Your silence when disrespected, your absence when neglected, your refusal to settle sends a message more powerful than any words. People may not understand it at first, but over time they will learn. You are not someone who can be played with. You are not someone who bends just to keep a place in someone else's life. You are not someone who sacrifices her peace to please another. You are someone who knows her worth and protects it fiercely. The moment you master boundaries, you stop asking, why is he treating me like this? And start asking, why am I allowing this? That shift puts the power back into your hands. You realize that you cannot control how someone behaves, but you can control what you tolerate. You cannot control whether someone respects you, but you can control whether you remain present when they don't. That is where true strength lies, not in changing others, but in choosing yourself. So when you are tempted to break your boundaries just to keep him, remind yourself of the cost. Every time you ignore your standards, you chip away at your own worth. Every time you bend, you teach him that you can be bent. Every time you tolerate less, you show him that he never needs to give more. But when you stand firm, you teach the world how to treat you. You show that respect is not optional, it is required. And anyone who cannot meet that is simply unworthy of your energy. There is no greater power than the power of self-respect, and boundaries are the walls that protect that power. They are not walls that keep love out, they are walls that keep toxicity out. They are not barriers that isolate you, they are shields that protect your soul. And once you learn to enforce them, you will never again fear losing someone, because you will know that the only thing you can truly lose is yourself, and you will never allow that to happen again. There is a kind of power that comes from transformation, a radiance that cannot be ignored because it is born not from someone else's approval, but from your own decision to rise. When someone has overlooked you, taken you for granted, or underestimated your worth, it is easy to fall into the trap of questioning yourself, wondering if you are not enough, wondering what you could have done differently to hold their attention. But the truth is you are always enough. What you needed was not to chase their validation, but to turn inward and focus on your own evolution. The glow-up is not about making them regret, it is about making yourself proud. It is about becoming so aligned with who you are meant to be that no absence, no rejection, no neglect can dim your shine. The glow-up begins in the mind. The way you think about yourself determines everything about how you show up in the world. If you constantly tell yourself that you are unworthy, that you need someone else to complete you, that your value is measured by whether or not he notices you, then you shrink into a shadow of your true self. But the moment you choose to reframe your story, the moment you start affirming your strength, your beauty, your intelligence, your uniqueness, you awaken a power inside that changes everything. You begin to carry yourself differently. You walk into rooms not seeking attention but radiating confidence. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop waiting and start creating. That shift in mindset is the first spark of your glow. From there, you begin to nurture your body, not for him, not for the world, but for you. You begin to see your body not as something to be criticized, but as something to be celebrated. You treat it with care, with discipline, with love. You eat foods that fuel you. You move in ways that make you stronger. You rest when you need to. Slowly, you begin to notice changes, not just in how you look, but in how you feel. Your energy rises, your skin glows, your posture shifts. You look in the mirror and see not the flaws you once obsessed over, but the resilience, the beauty, the life within you. That is what a glow-up truly is. It is not about fitting into society's narrow definition of beauty. It is about reclaiming ownership over the way you show up in the world. But a true glow-up does not stop at the physical. It goes deeper into the spirit, into the habits, into the choices you make daily. You begin to invest in your passions, in your dreams, in the goals you once put aside while waiting for someone else's attention. You read books that expand your mind, you learn skills that challenge you, you explore opportunities that scare you. Every day you become a little more independent, a little more self-sufficient, a little more aligned with the future you want to create. While he may still be stuck in the same patterns, you are evolving, rising, moving forward. You are no longer tied to the past because your vision is focused on the future. The beauty of moving forward is that it frees you from chains you didn't even know you were carrying. When you stop replaying old conversations, stop analyzing his silences, stop hoping for him to see your worth, you gain back your time, your energy, your peace. You realize how much of your life you had placed on pause, waiting for something that was never guaranteed. Moving forward is not about pretending he never existed. It is about accepting that his role in your story is complete. It is about closing the chapter with gratitude for the lessons, and then turning the page with confidence in your own power. As you glow up and move forward, something remarkable happens. The world begins to respond to your energy. Opportunities you once overlooked start appearing. People who share your values start gravitating toward you. Doors you thought were closed suddenly open. This is not magic. It is alignment. When you invest in yourself, the universe invests in you. When you raise your standards, life meets you at that level. You no longer attract those who drain you because your energy is too high for them to reach. You attract those who uplift you, who see your worth without you having to prove it, who celebrate your growth instead of fearing it. There is also a certain quiet revenge in the glow-up, though it is not intentional. The one who ignored you, who thought you would always be there, who believed your love would never run out, suddenly begins to notice. He sees the changes, the confidence in your walk, the joy in your laughter, the strength in your silence. He sees the glow that comes from self, love, from boundaries, from growth. And in that moment, he realizes what he lost. But the beauty is that by then, you are no longer waiting for his recognition. You have built a life so full, so radiant, that his presence or absence no longer dictates your happiness. That is the true victory, not in making him regret, but in no longer needing him to validate your shine. A glow-up is not about the surface. It is about transformation at every level. It is about healing from past wounds, forgiving yourself for mistakes, letting go of bitterness and choosing joy. It is about walking away from toxic cycles and stepping into new beginnings. It is about realizing that you are not defined by who hurt you, but by how you rise after the hurt. Every scar becomes a story of resilience. Every tear becomes a seed of strength. Every ending becomes the foundation for a brighter beginning. That is the essence of moving forward. You stop carrying the weight of yesterday and step fully into the light of today. The journey is not always easy. There will be days when you are tempted to look back, when the silence feels heavy, when memories pull you into the past. But in those moments, remind yourself why you started. Remind yourself of the pain of waiting, of the emptiness of chasing, of the exhaustion of giving more than you received. Remind yourself that you deserve better, not because of anything he did or didn't do, but because of who you are. And then take another step forward, however small. Progress is not about speed, it is about direction. As long as you keep moving, you are winning. The glow-up is also contagious. When you rise, you inspire others to rise. When you move forward, you show others that they can too. Your strength becomes a mirror, reflecting the strength in those around you. You become a living example of resilience, of transformation, of what it means to refuse to settle. And in doing so, you create a ripple effect, lifting others out of their own cycles of waiting and into their own journeys of growth. That is the quiet power of becoming the best version of yourself. You don't just change your life, you change the lives of those who witness your rise. At its core, the glow-up and moving forward are acts of freedom. Freedom from needing approval, freedom from living in the past, freedom from shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's world. It is the freedom to be unapologetically you, to create a life filled with passion, purpose, and peace. It is the freedom to wake up every morning excited about your future instead of anxious about his presence. It is the freedom to look in the mirror and know, without doubt, that you are whole, you are worthy, you are powerful. And once you taste that freedom, you will never go back. You will never again beg for attention, never again tolerate disrespect, never again settle for half-hearted love. Because you will know that the glow you carry, the strength you embody, the life you are building is too valuable to compromise. You will move forward with grace, with courage, with confidence, knowing that everything you need is already within you. And that is the kind of power no one can take away.